My daughter gave me a brand new tablet for my 66th birthday. It was sleek, expensive, and supposedly a gesture of love. I brought it to my grandson Leo's place the next day. Leo is a cybersecurity analyst, a sharp kid who sees code the way I used to see bridge schematics. He looked at the device for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Then he went pale. He whispered, "Grandpa, we need to call the police right now." I did not believe him. I thought he was being dramatic. But 11 days later, I watched as 2 officers put my daughter in handcuffs in her own living room. She had built a digital prison for me, intending to strip me of my fortune and my sanity. But she forgot one thing. I built bridges for 40 years, and I know exactly how to spot a structural failure. Before I tell you how I dismantled her entire scheme, tell me in the comments which city you are listening from. Hit like and subscribe if you have ever had to fight for your own dignity against the people who were supposed to protect you. My name is Bill Bennett. Most people look at a 66-year-old man and see someone who is past his prime, someone whose relevance has faded along with his hair color. I spent 4 decades as a structural engineer. I calculated load-bearing capacities for bridges that millions of cars drive over every day. If I made a mistake, people died. Precision was not just my job, it was my life. But standing in the grand ballroom of my daughter Vanessa's house, I felt less like an engineer and more like a prop. It was my birthday party, or so the invitation said. But everything about the evening screamed that it was actually a networking event for Vanessa. She is a high-end real estate agent in Orange County, and appearances are her currency. The house was filled with people I did not know, men in suits that cost more than my first car, and women who looked at me with that specific brand of pity reserved for the elderly. They sipped champagne and ate tiny hors d'oeuvres that looked like art that tasted like cardboard. I stood near the fireplace, holding a glass of sparkling water, feeling the heat of the fire on my back and the coldness of the room in my chest. Vanessa glided through the crowd like a shark in a silk dress. She was beautiful, I will give her that. She had her mother's eyes, but none of her mother's warmth. My late wife, Sarah, could walk into a room and make you feel like you were the only person there. Vanessa walked into a room and made sure everyone knew she was the most important person there. Her husband, Todd, trailed behind her, holding her purse. Todd was a nice enough guy, but he had the backbone of a jellyfish. He smiled at me nervously, gave a little wave, and then hurried to catch up with his wife. I checked my watch. 8 o'clock. I had been here for 2 hours. My face hurt from smiling at strangers who asked me how I was enjoying retirement. I wanted to tell them that retirement was fine. It was the loneliness that was the killer. But I just nodded and said I was playing a lot of golf. I hate golf. Suddenly the music lowered. Vanessa stood on the raised platform near the grand piano, tapping a spoon against her glass. The room went silent. She beamed, her smile practiced and perfect. "Everyone, if I could have your attention," she said, her voice projecting effortlessly. "Today we are celebrating the most important man in my life, my father, William Bennett." A round of polite applause rippled through the room. I forced a smile and raised my glass. Vanessa beckoned me to join her. I walked up the steps, feeling my knees protest slightly. Getting old is not for the weak. She put her arm around me, squeezing a little too tightly. "Dad has always been my rock," she continued, looking out at the audience, not at me. But as we all know, technology moves fast, and sometimes our parents get left behind. We want to make sure he stays connected, stays safe, and stays with us. She signaled to Todd, who scurried forward holding a flat, rectangular box wrapped in silver paper. "Happy birthday, Dad," she said, handing me the box. The guests oohed and ahed. I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was the latest TitanPad Pro. It was a massive tablet, the screen dark and glossy. I had seen the commercials. This thing cost more than $1,000. "Thank you, honey," I said, genuinely surprised. "This is too much. My old laptop works just fine." Vanessa laughed, a tinkling sound that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, Dad, that old laptop is a dinosaur. It is a security risk. This is the future. It has everything you need. Health monitoring, direct banking access, video calling. It is designed for seniors, to keep life simple." Designed for seniors. The phrase stung. It implied that I was incapable of handling complexity. I built bridges over rushing rivers, for God's sake. But I swallowed my pride. She was trying to be nice. She was my daughter. Since Sarah died, Vanessa was all I had left. I looked at the sleek device in my hands. It felt heavy. Heavier than it looked. After the cake was cut and the guests began to filter out, the atmosphere in the house shifted. The performance was over. Vanessa kicked off her heels and slumped onto the white leather sofa. I sat in the armchair opposite her, the silver box on my lap. Todd was busy directing the catering staff to clean up. "So, do you like it?" Vanessa asked, not looking at me, scrolling through her phone. "It is very generous, Nessie," I said, using her childhood nickname. "But really, I am used to my laptop. All my files are there. My photos of your mother." "We are going to migrate all of that tonight," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. She sat up, her eyes suddenly sharp. "Dad, listen to me. I worry about you, living alone in that big house. You are getting older. You forget things." "I do not forget things," I protested mildly. "I missed one bill last month because the mail got lost." "One bill that we know of," she countered. "Look, this tablet is the solution. It is called the Guardian ecosystem. I had my tech guy set it up specifically for you. But we need to activate it now." She reached out her hand. I hesitated, then handed her the tablet. She tapped the screen and it came to life with a soft chime. "Come sit next to me," she commanded. I moved to the sofa. The screen asked for biometric authentication. "Give me your finger," she said. I pressed my thumb against the sensor. The device chirped. "Good. Now your face." I stared into the camera. A green circle spun around my reflection. "Okay, you are in," Vanessa said, her fingers flying across the virtual keyboard. "Now here is the deal. This tablet is now your primary device. I am going to sync it with your bank accounts, your investment portfolio, and your medical records. It uses a triple encryption algorithm. It is safer than Fort Knox." "Is that really necessary?" I asked. "I like going to the bank branch. I like talking to the tellers." "Dad, stop!" she snapped, then softened her voice. "I am doing this for you. There are so many scammers out there targeting seniors. They steal millions every year. This device protects you. If any suspicious transaction happens, it alerts me immediately. I can help you manage it. Do you want to lose everything Mom and you worked for because you clicked on the wrong link?" She knew exactly which buttons to push. Fear. The fear of being the foolish old man who lost the family legacy. "Fine," I said. "Set it up." She spent the next hour demanding my passwords. Social security number, mother's maiden name, the name of my first pet. Every key to my life, she typed into that machine. I watched her, feeling a strange sense of unease. It felt less like receiving a gift and more like undergoing a medical procedure. "There," she said finally, handing it back to me. "It is done. Oh, and Dad, one more thing." She walked over to the hallway table where I had left my old leather satchel. She opened it and pulled out my battered Dell laptop. "I am taking this," she said. "Wait, what?" I stood up. "No, I need that." "No, you don't. We transferred the photos. Everything else is junk. Viruses, malware, outdated software. It is a ticking time bomb. I am doing you a favor. I will have Todd take it to the recycling center tomorrow." "Vanessa, please," I said, reaching for it. She pulled it back, her eyes cold. "Dad, you promised to trust me. You promised to let me take care of you. Do you trust me or not?" The room went silent. The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. If I said no, I was the stubborn, ungrateful father. If I said yes, I was surrendering a piece of my independence. "I trust you," I lied. "Good," she smiled, dropping my old laptop onto a pile of gifts as if it were trash. "Now, go home and get some rest. You look tired." "You look really tired, Dad." I drove home that night in silence. The tablet sat on the passenger seat, glowing faintly, even though I thought I had turned it off. My house was dark when I arrived. It is a mid-century modern place, single-story, open plan. Sarah and I bought it in '82. Every corner of it holds a memory. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and sat at the island. I looked at the tablet. The Titan pad. It was a beautiful piece of engineering, I had to admit. The screen was crisp, the colors vivid. I tapped the icon for my email. It opened instantly. No loading time. I tapped the icon for the news. It knew exactly what I liked to read. Engineering journals, local politics, bridge infrastructure updates. Smart. Very smart. I decided to check my bank account, just to see if the interface was easy to use, like Vanessa promised. I pressed my thumb to the sensor. Access granted. The numbers popped up on the screen. I squinted. I took my glasses off and wiped them, then put them back on. That could not be right. I knew my balance. I balanced my checkbook every Sunday. It was a habit I never broke. Last Sunday, my checking account had $86,420. The screen showed $84,420. $2,000 were missing. My heart gave a little stutter. I tapped on the transaction history. There, at the top of the list, was a debit made yesterday. The description was vague. Purchase, electronics boutique. I frowned. Yesterday? Yesterday I was at home all day reading a book. I did not buy any electronics. I did not go to a boutique. My hand reached for the phone to call Vanessa. She said it would alert her. She said she would handle it. But my finger hovered over the dial button. "You look really tired, Dad. You forget things." Her voice echoed in my head. Did I buy something? I tried to retrace my steps. No, impossible. But then, why was the record there? Was it a glitch? Or was it me? I put the phone down. I stared at the transaction. Maybe I ordered something online and forgot? No, that is ridiculous. I am sharp. I am the man who spotted a hairline fracture in the support beam of the I-95 overpass when everyone else missed it. I do not forget spending $2,000. But the seed was planted. It was a tiny, dark seed of doubt dropped into the fertile soil of my insecurity. Vanessa had said the old laptop was full of viruses. Maybe my bank account had been hacked before? Maybe this tablet was showing me the truth for the first time. I scrolled down. The rest of the transactions looked normal. Gas, groceries, utilities. It was just that one line item. I decided to wait. I would go to the bank in person on Monday. I would talk to Mary, the teller I had known for 10 years. She would clear this up. I didn't want to bother Vanessa. She would just give me that look again. That look that said, "Poor old Dad, losing his marbles." I turned off the tablet. The screen went black, reflecting my own face back at me. I looked older than I felt. The wrinkles around my eyes seemed deeper in the harsh light of the kitchen. I carried the device to my bedroom and placed it on the nightstand. It was supposed to be a gift. It was supposed to be a guardian. But as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just invited a stranger into my home. A stranger who was watching me while I slept. The little green LED light on the top of the tablet blinked once, then twice. It looked like a winking eye. I turned over and pulled the covers up, but sleep did not come for a long time. I kept thinking about my old laptop, sitting in Vanessa's pile of trash. It wasn't just a machine. It was my archive, my history. And she had taken it with a smile. Monday came, and the world seemed normal again. I made my coffee, toast, and eggs. I felt foolish for worrying so much the night before. It was probably a bank error. I got dressed, put on my favorite tweed jacket, and grabbed the tablet. Vanessa said I had to use it for everything now. I drove to the bank. The parking lot was full. I walked inside, looking for Mary, but her window was closed. A young man I didn't recognize was at the counter. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked. "I'm looking for Mary," I said. "Mary retired last week," he said cheerfully. "I'm Jason. How can I help you today?" I felt a pang of disappointment. Mary was another anchor gone. "I want to check a transaction on my account," I said, placing the tablet on the counter. Jason looked at the tablet. "Nice gear," he said. I opened the banking app. I navigated to the history. I pointed to the line item. "This one here," I said. "The $2,000. I didn't make this purchase." Jason typed something into his computer. He frowned. Then he typed some more. "Mr. Bennett, according to our system, that transaction was authorized via a secure device. Biometric confirmation. Fingerprint and Face ID." "That's impossible," I said, my voice rising slightly. "I was at home." Jason turned the screen towards me. "It shows the device ID matches the one you are holding right now. TitanPad Pro. The authorization came from this specific unit." I stared at him. Then I stared at the tablet. "But I just got this tablet last night." "The transaction is dated 2 days ago." Jason shrugged. "Sometimes the posting dates are weird. But the authorization is solid, sir. Maybe you pre-ordered something?" "I did not pre-order anything," I snapped. The people in the line behind me shuffled their feet. I took a deep breath. "Look, Jason, I want to dispute this." "I can file a claim," Jason said, his tone shifting from cheerful to patronizing. "But since it was authorized biometrically, it's going to be hard to prove it wasn't you. Unless what?" "Unless someone else has your fingerprints and your face, sir." He said it as a joke, but I didn't laugh. I walked out of the bank feeling unsteady. The sun was shining, but everything felt gray. I sat in my car and looked at the tablet again. Authorized biometrically. Only 2 people had access to my biometrics. Me and Vanessa. She had set it up. She had held it while I scanned my face. No. I shook my head violently. That is insane. Why would my own daughter steal $2,000 from me? She drives a Mercedes. She lives in a mansion. It makes no sense. I was becoming paranoid, just like she said. My phone rang. It was the tablet, actually. The call was coming through the app. "Hi, Dad!" Vanessa's voice was chirpy and loud in the car speakers. "Hi, Nessie," I managed to say. "I got a notification that you were at the bank. Is everything okay?" My blood ran cold. She knew where I was. I just wanted to say hello to Mary," I lied. "Oh, okay. Well, don't forget we have that lunch with Dr. Reeves next week. You promised to get a checkup." I didn't promise anything, I thought. But I said, "Sure, honey." "Great. Love you, Dad." "Love you too." The line went dead. I looked at the black screen. Notification that I was at the bank. She was tracking me. Suddenly, the car felt very small. I needed to talk to someone who understood this stuff, someone who wouldn't treat me like a senile old man. I started the engine. I wasn't going home. I was going to see Leo. I turned the key in the ignition, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, my knuckles turned white. I wanted to drive straight to my grandson Leo. I wanted to dump this cursed tablet on his desk and beg him to fix my life. But then, the engineer in me took over. Engineers do not run on panic. Engineers run on data. If I went to Leo now, ranting about stolen money and biometric theft, I would sound exactly like what Vanessa said I was. A confused, paranoid old man. No, I needed proof. I needed to document the glitch so that when I spoke, I had evidence, not just emotion. I turned the car around and drove back to my empty house. That was the biggest mistake of my life. I gave the enemy 3 more days. And those 3 days almost broke me completely. When I walked back into my kitchen, the silence of the house felt heavy, oppressive. The tablet sat on the counter where I had left it. It chimed. A cheerful, bright sound that made me flinch. I walked over to it slowly. A notification box floated on the high-definition screen. It was an email confirmation, sent from my personal account. I tapped it open. My breath hitched in my throat. It was an email addressed to the Homeowners Association board. I had been the treasurer of our HOA for 6 years. I was proud of that work. It kept my mind sharp. The email read, "Dear board members, please accept this letter as my immediate resignation. My health has deteriorated faster than anticipated, and I can no longer manage the complex responsibilities of the Treasury. I apologize for any mess I have left behind. Sincerely, William Bennett." I stared at the words. I had not written this. I had never even thought this. I felt a wave of dizziness. I immediately hit the reply button to type a correction, to tell them I had been hacked. But as my fingers touched the virtual keyboard, the screen froze. A spinning wheel of death appeared. Then, a pop-up message. Error 404. Network unavailable. I checked my router. The internet was working fine. My smart TV was streaming the news in the living room. It was just the tablet. It was blocking me. My phone rang. It was Mrs. Gable, the HOA president. "Bill, oh my goodness," she said. her voice dripping with sympathy. "We just got your email. We are so sorry. We had no idea things were that bad." "Alice, listen to me," I stammered. "I did not write that. It is a mistake. My computer is acting up." There was a pause on the other end. A long, uncomfortable pause. Then she spoke, her voice lower, softer. "Bill, it is okay. Vanessa called me this morning. She told me you might try to take it back. She explained about the episodes, about the confusion. We understand. Take care of yourself, Bill. We have already appointed a temporary replacement." The line went dead. I stood there, holding the phone, feeling the walls of my own home closing in on me. Vanessa had called her. Preemptively. She was not just tracking me, she was orchestrating my social suicide. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in my armchair, watching the tablet. I was afraid to touch it, yet afraid to look away. Around 3 a.m, the screen lit up. It wasn't a message. It was a purchase confirmation. Another one. This time from a medical supply company. $300. The item description made my stomach turn. Adult incontinence briefs. Bulk pack. I felt a surge of rage so hot it burned my eyes. I grabbed the tablet to cancel the order, but the screen went black. It ignored my touch. It was a brick. A sleek, expensive brick that mocked me. The next morning, a delivery truck pulled up to my driveway. The driver unloaded 4 massive boxes. I went out to the porch. "I didn't order this," I told the driver. "Take it back." "Can't do that, sir," the driver said, looking at his clipboard. "It is marked non-returnable. Hygiene products. Sign here, please." I refused to sign. He left the boxes on my porch anyway. I stood there, staring at the label with my name on it in bold letters. William Bennett. Neighbors were walking their dogs. They looked at the boxes. They looked at me. I could see the questions in their eyes. Poor Bill. He is losing control of his bladder. He is falling apart. I dragged the boxes inside, my face burning with shame, and shoved them into the guest room closet. 10 minutes later, Vanessa called. "Dad, the delivery notification just popped up. Did you get your supplies?" "Stop it, Vanessa," I growled, my voice shaking. "I do not need diapers. I do not need a caretaker. You are doing this. You are hacking my account." "Dad, stop yelling," she said, her voice calm, reasonable. "You are getting agitated again. Remember what Dr. Reeves said? Agitation is a symptom. I ordered those because I found wet sheets in the laundry last week. I was trying to save you the embarrassment of buying them yourself." "You are lying," I shouted. "I have never wet the bed in my life." "There you go again, getting angry when I am just trying to help," she sighed. "It is the dementia talking, Dad. It is not you. I love you. We will get through this. Just take your pill and rest." I hung up. I threw the phone onto the sofa. I paced the room. Was I crazy? Did I wet the bed and forget? No. Impossible. I checked my sheets. They were dry. They smelled of lavender detergent. She was gaslighting me. She was rewriting my reality, one notification at a time. By the 3rd day, I was a ghost in my own life. My email password had been changed. I could not access my investment portfolio. When I tried to call my broker, the call was redirected to Vanessa's voicemail. Every digital door I tried to open was slammed in my face. Then came the final blow, the notification that broke me. It was mid-afternoon. The sun was shining, but inside I was living in a nightmare. The tablet chimed. A calendar alert. Event: Assisted Living Facility Tour. Location: Shady Pines. Time: tomorrow, 10 a.m. Note: Deposit paid. Deposit paid. I tapped on the banking app. I did not care if it was tracking me anymore. I needed to see. The balance: $74,000. $10,000 were gone. Transaction description: Shady Pines. Entry fee. I sank onto the kitchen floor. My legs just gave out. She was not just stealing my money, she was evicting me. She was going to put me in a home and sell this house. My house. The house where I held Sarah's hand while she took her last breath. I looked at the tablet lying on the floor next to me. The screensaver had activated. It was a slideshow of photos. But they were not my photos. They were photos of Vanessa and Todd, smiling, drinking wine, traveling. My life had been erased from the device, replaced by theirs. I realized then that data would not save me. Logic would not save me. Because the system itself was rigged. I was playing a game where the opponent controlled the scoreboard. I needed an external variable. I needed someone who knew how to break the system. I stood up. My knees cracked, but I stood up. I did not pack a bag. I did not lock the front door. I grabbed the tablet. I grabbed my car keys. I am not crazy, I said aloud to the empty room. My voice was hoarse but steady. I am not crazy, and I am going to prove it. I got into my car and drove. I checked the rearview mirror constantly, half expecting Vanessa's Mercedes to be tailing me. I didn't go to the police station. Vanessa would have told them I was a runaway senior. She probably had a file on me there already. I drove to the one place where analog still met digital. The one place where my title wasn't patient or father, but grandpa. I drove to Leo's apartment complex on the other side of town. Leo was the son of my eldest boy, who died in a car crash 10 years ago. Leo was quiet. He didn't like parties. He didn't care about real estate or appearances. He cared about code. He lived in a world of binary, of zeros and ones, where things were either true or false. There was no gray area for manipulation. When I knocked on his door, I must have looked like a madman. My shirt was unbuttoned at the collar. My hair was uncombed, and I was clutching the Titan pad like a shield. Leo opened the door. He was wearing a hoodie and sweatpants, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his multiple computer monitors inside. "Grandpa?" he asked, his eyes widening. "What happened? You look—" I pushed past him into the apartment. It smelled of coffee and soldering iron. It smelled of safety. "Lock the door, Leo," I said, placing the tablet on his cluttered desk. "Lock the door and unplug your router." "Grandpa, you are scaring me. What is going on?" I pointed a trembling finger at the sleek black device. "That thing," I whispered. "That thing is eating my life." Vanessa gave it to me. It spent my money. It wrote resignation letters I didn't write. It says I wet the bed, Leo. It says I am crazy. Leo looked at me, then at the tablet. He didn't laugh. He didn't offer me a glass of water or ask if I had taken my meds. He saw the terror in my eyes, and he respected it. He sat down in his ergonomic chair and swiveled toward the desk. He pulled a cable from a drawer. "Let's see what is under the hood," he said quietly. He plugged the tablet into his massive desktop tower. His fingers flew across a mechanical keyboard, the clicking sound rhythmic and soothing. Lines of code cascaded down his monitor like a digital waterfall. Green text on a black background. I stood behind him, holding my breath. I watched as he bypassed the security lock. I watched as he peeled back the layers of the user interface that Vanessa had called senior-friendly. Minutes ticked by. The only sound was the hum of the computer fans and the clicking of keys. Then, Leo stopped typing. His hands hovered over the keyboard. He leaned in closer to the screen. The reflection of the code danced in his glasses. "Oh my God," he breathed. "What?" I asked, leaning in. "What is it?" Leo turned to look at me. His face was pale. All the color had drained from his cheeks. He looked like he had seen a ghost. "Grandpa," he whispered, his voice trembling. "This isn't just a banking glitch. This isn't just hackers." He pointed to a line of code at the bottom of the screen. It was pulsing red. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means we need to call the police," Leo said, standing up abruptly. "We need to call them right now. This device, it is a wiretap. And it has a kill switch." "A kill switch?" Leo grabbed my shoulders. "Grandpa, this software isn't designed to help you manage your money. It is designed to simulate incompetence. It alters your outgoing text. It filters your incoming calls. But that is not the worst part." He dragged a window to the center of the screen. It was a live feed. It was a video feed. It showed the inside of my car. It showed the view from the tablet's camera, looking up at the ceiling of Leo's apartment. "It has been broadcasting everything," Leo said, "since the moment you turned it on. Vanessa isn't just watching you. She is building a case file. And look at this file name here." I squinted at the screen. The file name was a date. Tomorrow's date. final_transfer_authorization.pdf. "She is not just putting you in a home tomorrow, Grandpa." Leo's voice cracked. "This script is set to liquidate your entire portfolio the moment you cross the GPS geofence of the nursing home. She takes everything, the house, the savings, the pension, and then what?" I asked, though I think I already knew. Leo swallowed hard. "And then the device factory resets, deletes all evidence. It makes it look like you transferred the money yourself in a moment of confusion before you were admitted. It is the perfect crime." I stared at the screen. The complexity of it was terrifying. But strangely, I felt a calm wash over me. The panic was gone. The confusion was gone. I was back on solid ground. I wasn't crazy. I was right. I looked at my grandson. The fear in his eyes mirrored my own. But beneath it, I saw determination. "Do not call the police yet," I said. Leo stared at me. "What? Grandpa, we have the evidence. If we call them now, she will know," I said, my mind racing, calculating the structural loads, finding the weak point in the bridge. "She is watching the feed. If she sees the police, she hits that reset button remotely. We lose the proof. We lose the money." "Then what do we do?" Leo asked. I looked at the tablet. I looked at the camera lens that was secretly recording us. "We give her a show," I said. "She wants a senile old man? She wants a confused father who needs a guardian?" I straightened my jacket. I ran a hand through my messy hair. "Let's give her exactly what she paid for. But we are going to change the ending of her movie. Leo, can you isolate the feed? Can you make her see what we want her to see while you work in the background?" Leo looked at the code again. He bit his lip. Then a slow, mischievous smile spread across his face. "I can build a sandbox," he said. "A virtual room. She will think she is controlling the tablet, but she will be playing in a simulator." "How long will it take?" "About an hour." "Do it," I said. I sat down on Leo's futon. I watched him work. For the first time in 3 days, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like an engineer again. My daughter had built a trap. A very sophisticated, high-tech trap. But she forgot one thing. She was dealing with the man who taught her how to play chess. And I was about to make my move. The most terrifying thing for a man like me is not death. It is the erosion of the mind. For a structural engineer, the brain is the only tool that matters. If you cannot trust your own calculations, the bridge collapses. If you cannot trust your own memory, the world collapses. That night, sitting in the dim light of my study, I felt my world shaking. I looked at my hands. They were trembling, not from age, but from fear. Was Vanessa right? Was I really losing my grip on reality? Had I really ordered those things, written those emails, and then simply deleted the memory from my brain like a corrupt file? The doubt was a cold, heavy stone in my stomach. I needed an anchor. I needed something the digital world could not touch. I stood up and walked over to the old oak bookshelf in the corner. Behind a row of dusty engineering textbooks, I kept them. My field notes. For 40 years, I had carried a black moleskin notebook in my breast pocket. It was a habit from my first day on the job site in 1978. You record everything. Weather conditions, material deliveries, crew arrival times. Even after I retired, the habit stuck. I logged my days. It was my way of keeping time in a life that had become too quiet. I pulled out the notebook for the current year. The cover was worn, the pages smelling of ink and old paper. I sat down at my desk and opened it. I placed the glowing tablet next to it. The contrast was stark. One was cold, shifting, and slick. The other was tangible, permanent, and mine. I turned to the page dated October 12th. That was 3 days ago. The day the tablet claimed I had sent a rude email to my neighbor about her dog barking. I read my own handwriting. The blue ink was steady and precise. October 12th, 7 a.m. Coffee. Rain. 9 a.m. Read historical fiction novel. 11 a.m. Walked to the park. Saw Mrs. Higgins walking her golden retriever. Complimented the dog. She said his name is Buster. I stared at the entry. I had complimented the dog. I had written it down. I remembered the wet fur smell of the dog. I remembered Mrs. Higgins smiling. I looked at the tablet. The sent folder showed an email time-stamped at 11:15 a.m. Subject: Shut that beast up. Body: If you do not silence that mongrel, I will call animal control. My heart hammered against my ribs. I did not send that email. I was in the park, petting the dog, at the exact moment the email was sent. I flipped the page. October 14th, yesterday. The day the tablet said I bought the incontinence supplies online at 2 p.m. My notebook entry read, 2 p.m., napping in the recliner. 3 p.m., woke up, watched documentary on the Hoover Dam. I was asleep. I was asleep when the order was placed. Tears pricked my eyes. They were not tears of sadness. They were tears of relief. I was not crazy. My memory was not a sieve. My mind was still sharp. The data in the book was the truth. The data on the screen was a fabrication. But then, the relief turned into a cold, hard knot of dread. If I wasn't crazy, that meant someone was deliberately trying to make me think I was. Someone was manufacturing a digital version of Bill Bennett who was angry, incontinent, and confused. And that someone had the administrative passwords to my life. I looked at the tablet again. The screen had gone dark, reflecting my face. For a second, I didn't see myself. I saw a prisoner looking through a glass wall. I grabbed a red pen. I started circling the discrepancies. Every lie on the screen I matched with a truth in the book. The missed bill payment? I had written a check number in my log. The forgotten appointment? I had noted that I was gardening. Page after page, the evidence mounted. This wasn't a glitch. This was a script. A carefully written script designed to replace me. And the author of that script was the person who gave me the device. I closed the notebook with a snap. The sound echoed in the silent room like a gunshot. I had my sanity back. Now, I needed to get my life back. But I knew I couldn't do it alone. The enemy was invisible, hiding behind firewalls and encryption. I needed someone who could see the invisible. I needed Leo. The drive to Leo's apartment was a blur of streetlights and paranoia. Every car behind me looked like Vanessa's silver Mercedes. Every red light felt like a trap designed to keep me stationary long enough for men in white coats to swarm my vehicle. I was gripping the steering wheel so hard, my hands were cramping, the knuckles white as bone. The Titan pad lay on the passenger seat, face down. I had thrown my jacket over it, as if the fabric could suffocate the signal, but I knew better. Radio waves do not care about tweed. Leo lived in a converted industrial loft on the edge of the city. It was the kind of place Vanessa turned her nose up at, calling it gritty and transitional. I called it honest. It was a building made of brick and steel, materials that showed their age without hiding it. I parked around the block, just in case, and walked the rest of the way, clutching the tablet under my arm like a nuclear football. When Leo opened the door, the contrast between my world and his hit me instantly. My house was silent, ordered, and empty. Leo's apartment was a chaotic symphony of humming server racks, tangled cables, and the blue glow of monitors. He was 24, brilliant, and socially elusive. He looked at me, his eyes widening behind his wire-rimmed glasses. He saw the sweat on my forehead, the unbuttoned collar of my shirt, and the desperate set of my jaw. "Grandpa," he said, stepping aside, "you look like you just outran a hurricane." I did not have time for pleasantries. I walked straight to his central workstation, a massive desk dominated by 3 curved monitors. I pulled the tablet out from under my jacket and set it down on the dark wood. It looked innocent enough, just a piece of black glass and aluminum. "I need you to look at this," I said, my voice raspy. "Vanessa gave it to me. She says it is to help me, but I think it is trying to destroy me." Leo didn't laugh. He didn't ask if I had taken my medication. That is why I loved the kid. He operated on logic. If a bridge is shaking, you do not ask the bridge if it is tired. You check the foundation. He pulled up a chair for me and sat down in his own ergonomic seat. "What is it doing?" he asked, spinning the tablet around. "It is rewriting history, Leo." I tapped the notebook in my pocket. "I have my logs. I know what I did. I know what I spent. But this machine, it says I am spending thousands on things I never bought. It says I am writing emails I never wrote. It says I am losing my mind." Leo frowned. He picked up a cable, a thick black cord with custom connectors. He plugged one end into the tablet and the other into his tower. "Let's see what is under the hood," he muttered. On his screens, windows began to pop up. Lines of code cascaded down like green rain. To me, it looked like chaos. To him, it was a language. His fingers flew across his mechanical keyboard, the clicking sound rhythmic and aggressive. He wasn't just looking at files, he was interrogating the device. For the first 10 minutes, he was silent. The only sound in the room was the hum of the cooling fans. I watched his face. I saw the reflection of the code dancing in his eyes. Slowly, his expression shifted from curiosity to confusion, and then to something darker. A deep furrow appeared between his brows. "This is not a standard operating system," he said softly. "What do you mean?" I asked, leaning in. Leo pointed to a block of text on the left screen. "It looks like the standard interface, the one you see when you turn it on. Big buttons, simple text, but that is just a skin, a mask. Underneath, Grandpa, this device has been rooted." Rooted? Jailbroken. Someone stripped away the manufacturer's security protocols so they could install unauthorized software. Deep-level software. He typed a command. A new window opened, displaying a list of running processes. He highlighted one called GW_protocol.exe. "Here," he said. "This is what is messing with your emails." It is a script called Ghostwriter. I have only seen this on the dark web. It is a text substitution engine. Explain it to me like I am building a bridge, Leo. Okay, imagine you type a letter. You hit send. Before that letter leaves the device, this program intercepts it. It scans for keywords. If you type, "I am fine," it replaces it with, "I am confused." If you type, "hello," it might change it to nothing, or to a rambling sentence about the weather. It happens in milliseconds. You never see the change on your screen. But the recipient receives the altered version. My blood ran cold. The email to the HOA. The resignation. "And the money?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Leo switched to another window. He pulled up the transaction logs. Not the pretty bank app interface, but the raw data leaving the device. He pointed to the purchase for the incontinence supplies. "See this? On your screen, it shows a payment to a medical supply company. But look at the routing number in the code. It is a redirect. The money is not going to a store. It is going through a crypto tumbler. It is a laundering service." Laundering? It hides where the money ends up. But if I trace the IP packet... Leo typed furiously. He bit his lip. "Got it. The destination wallet. It is a private crypto wallet. And guess who logged into that wallet from a residential IP address in Orange County 3 hours ago?" "Vanessa," I said. It wasn't a question. Leo nodded grimly. "She is stealing your money and making it look like you are blowing it on senile impulses." I sat back, feeling the wind knocked out of me. It was one thing to suspect it. It was another to see the mathematical proof. My own daughter. She wasn't just greedy. She was cruel. She was dismantling my reputation, my dignity, piece by piece, just to get a payout. "But why the rush?" I asked. "Why destroy me this week?" Leo was about to answer when he froze. His hands stopped moving. He stared at the top right corner of his center monitor. A small icon was pulsing. A red eye. "Don't move," he whispered. His voice was so low I almost didn't hear him. "What, Grandpa? Don't look at the tablet. Look at me. Just keep looking at me." My heart started to hammer again. "What is it, Leo?" "We missed a layer," he said, sweat beading on his upper lip. "We found the text modifier. We found the theft script. But there is a third process running. It is a rat." "A rat?" "Remote access Trojan. It gives an external user full control over the hardware." He slowly reached out a hand toward the tablet. "Grandpa, the camera light. The little green LED. It isn't blinking." I looked. He was right. It was dark. "That is because she disabled the hardware light," Leo said. "But the software trigger is active. The camera is on. The microphone is on." The realization hit me like a physical blow. The silence in my kitchen, the conversation in my car, the moment I walked into Leo's apartment. "She is watching us?" I choked out. "Right now," Leo said. "She is streaming this. She knows you are here. She knows we are digging." I felt a sudden urge to vomit. I felt violated in a way that was deeper than theft. She had been in my pocket, in my bedroom, listening to my breathing, watching me sleep. Leo moved fast. He grabbed a piece of black electrical tape from his desk drawer and slapped it over the tablet's front camera. Then he covered the rear camera. "That kills the video," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "But she can still hear us, and she knows we covered the lens." Suddenly, the tablet came to life. We hadn't touched it. The screen lit up. The volume bar slid up to maximum on its own. A voice filled the room. It wasn't the robotic voice of a computer. It was her. "Hello, Dad." The sound of Vanessa's voice, crisp and high definition, echoing in the loft, made me jump. "I see you found your way to Leo's," she continued. "I was wondering when you would run to him." He was always the smart one in the family. "Vanessa," I said, leaning over the desk, shouting at the device, "I know what you are doing. We have the code." "Oh, Dad," she laughed, a cold, dismissive sound. "You have nothing. You are a confused old man with a history of paranoia. And Leo? Leo is just a complicit grandchild taking advantage of his grandfather's dementia to get some startup money. That is the narrative, Dad, and I have the medical records to prove it." "You forged them!" I yelled. "Who is the court going to believe?" she asked. "A well-respected real estate agent and a doctor? Or a man who buys diapers in bulk and writes resignation letters he doesn't remember?" Leo typed something on his keyboard. He held up a finger, signaling me to keep her talking. "You won't get away with this," I said, trying to steady my voice. "I am not incompetent." "You will be," she said. "Or at least, legally you will be. By tomorrow morning. The hearing is at 9. Emergency conservatorship. Based on the alarming behavior you have exhibited this week, fleeing your home, seeking out a known hacker, the judge will sign the order before you even finish your morning coffee." Leo's screen flashed green. He gave me a thumbs up. He pointed to the microphone icon on his screen and made a cutting motion across his throat. He had cut the audio feed. "She can't hear us anymore?" I asked, trembling. "No," Leo exhaled, slumping back in his chair. "I severed the uplink. She is shouting at a dead wall now." I sank into the chair, burying my face in my hands. The hearing. Emergency conservatorship. That was the endgame. Once she had that signature from a judge, I was dead. I would be a ward of the state, and she would be my keeper. I would lose the right to hire a lawyer, to access my money, to even choose where I slept. "We have 12 hours, Leo said. I looked up. 12 hours until what? Until I lose everything? No, Leo said. His eyes were hard now. The shock had worn off, replaced by a cold, calculating anger. He looked so much like his father in that moment, it made my chest ache. 12 hours to turn this weapon around, he said, pointing at the taped-up tablet. She thinks she is the only one who can write a script? She thinks she is the only one who can fake a reality? He pulled his keyboard closer. Grandpa, she wants a show for the judge tomorrow? We are going to give her the greatest performance of her life. But we are not just going to defend you. We are going to trap her. We are going to let her walk right into the cage she built for you. And then we are going to weld the door shut. How? I asked. Leo smiled, but there was no humor in it. It was a predator's smile. We are going to glitch the glitch, he said. Silence is not merely the absence of noise. In my line of work, silence can be the most dangerous sound of all. It is the sound of a cable snapping before the bridge falls. It is the sound of a breath held before a decision is made. In Leo's apartment, the silence that followed his declaration was heavy with potential energy. We were standing on a precipice. On one side was the complete destruction of my life, orchestrated by the daughter I had raised. On the other side was a gamble so high stakes that my hands should have been shaking. But they were not. They were steady. Leo looked at me, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. He explained the plan in a whisper, even though the audio feed was cut. He told me that fighting a hacker with brute force is useless. If you try to block them, they find another way in. If you try to shut them down, they destroy the evidence. The only way to win is to let them think they have already won. We had to build a digital hall of mirrors. We call it a sandbox, Leo said, his eyes scanning lines of code that looked like a foreign language to me. Basically, we create a virtual environment inside my computer. We clone your tablet's operating system. When Vanessa logs in, she thinks she is accessing the physical device in your hand. She thinks she is seeing your real bank account, your real location, your real emails. But she will be interacting with a ghost, a simulation. And what happens in the simulation? I asked. Whatever we want to happen, Leo replied. We control the weather in there. We can make her see the money moving. We can make her see you driving to the nursing home. We can make her see you crying in your bedroom. Meanwhile, in the real world, the money stays safe, and we trace her connection back to the source. I nodded. It was brilliant. It was the same principle as a controlled demolition. You weaken the structure exactly where you want it to fall. But there is a catch, Leo said, looking at the taped-over camera. To get her to migrate her connection into the sandbox, she needs to believe everything is normal. She knows we covered the camera. She knows the audio cut out. She is suspicious right now. If she panics, she hits the kill switch. We need to lure her back in. We need to make her believe that I am just a scared kid, and you are just a confused old man. I understood what he was asking. He was asking me to humiliate myself. He was asking me to go back on that audio feed and beg. He was asking me to play the part of the senile, broken father that she wanted me to be. My pride rebelled against it. Every fiber of my being wanted to scream at her, to tell her she was a disgrace to her mother's memory. But I swallowed that bile. I pushed it down deep. Pride is expensive. Freedom is priceless. Do it, I said. Turn the audio back on. Leo typed a few commands. He signaled to me. 3, 2, 1. I took a deep breath. I let my shoulders slump. I pitched my voice up, adding a tremor that wasn't there a moment ago. Leo, stop it, I pleaded, leaning close to the tablet's microphone. Don't touch it. You were going to break it. Vanessa was right. I watched Leo's face. He looked pained to hear me sound this weak, but he played his part perfectly. Grandpa, I am just trying to help, he whined, sounding younger and more uncertain than he really was. I don't know what I am doing. This encryption is too hard. Just stop, I shouted, injecting panic into my voice. She said she would call the police. She said she would put me in the home immediately if I fought back. I can't go to jail, Leo. I am scared. I am so confused. I don't even remember coming here. I paused, waiting. It was the hardest pause of my life. Then the voice came back through the speakers. It was dripping with condescension. That is better, Dad. I am glad you are finally seeing reason. Vanessa had taken the bait. I am sorry, Nessie, I said, wiping a non-existent tear from my cheek. I don't know what is happening to me. I thought someone was stealing my money. But Leo says the accounts look fine. I think I am just having one of my episodes. You are, Dad, she said, her voice softening into that fake, sickening sweetness. It is okay. It is scary, I know. That is why I am here, to take the burden off your shoulders. Now, tell Leo to uncover the camera. I need to see you. I need to know you are safe. I looked at Leo. He nodded. He had the sandbox ready. The moment he peeled that tape back, the video feed she would see wouldn't be the high-definition stream from the tablet. It would be a filtered feed, routed through Leo's simulation engine. Leo reached out and peeled the black tape off the lens. I looked directly into the camera. I let my face go slack. I let my mouth hang open slightly. I looked like a man defeated. Hi, honey, I whispered. Hi, Dad, she said. You look exhausted. Listen to me. I want you to go home, right now. Leo can drive you, or you can drive yourself if you feel up to it. Go home, take a sleeping pill, and get some rest. We have a big day tomorrow. The hearing is at 9. We will get this all sorted out, and you will be in a nice, safe place by noon. I will, I said. I will go home. I promise. Good boy, she said. Good boy. Like I was a dog. I watched the screen as she disconnected the call. The moment the connection broke, I straightened my spine. The trembling stopped. The confusion vanished. I looked at Leo. He was already typing furiously. She bought it, he said, a grin spreading across his face. She is logged into the sandbox. She thinks she is tracking your GPS back to your house. And where is the GPS actually pointing? I asked. I am looping a pre-recorded route, Leo explained. For the next 8 hours, her screen will show your little dot driving home, parking in the garage, and staying there all night. The microphone will play a loop of ambient house noise, the snoring of an old man, the ticking of a clock. She will think you are sound asleep in your bed. And in reality? In reality, Leo said, cracking his knuckles, we are going hunting. While she is watching a rerun of your life, we are going to trace that crypto wallet. We are going to find out exactly where she is hiding the money. And we are going to download every single byte of data she thinks she deleted. I looked at the Titan pad. It sat there, innocent and dark. It was no longer a prison. It was a trap. And the mouse had just walked in for the cheese. We spent the rest of the night working in silence, but it was a different kind of silence now. It was the silence of an operating room. Precise. Surgical. Leo pulled up the schematics of Vanessa's digital empire. It was vast, and it was crumbling. We found the debt notices from the offshore casinos. We found the threatening emails from loan sharks. We found the draft of the sales contract for my house, stamped with a digital forgery of my signature. Every document was a nail in her coffin. Leo saved them all. He mirrored them to a secure cloud server. He printed hard copies. By 4 a.m, my eyes were burning, but I felt more alive than I had in years. I was not just an old man anymore. I was a father teaching his daughter a lesson she would never forget. "Grandpa, look at this," Leo said, pointing to a final file. It was an email thread between Vanessa and Dr. Reeves. Subject: Fast Track, Body. "The old man is cracking. I will have him agitated enough by tomorrow to justify immediate sedation. Once he is medicated, he won't be able to speak to the judge. Make sure the dosage is high. I need him drooling." I read the words. I read them twice. She wasn't just planning to lock me away. She was planning to drug me into silence. She was going to erase my mind chemically because she couldn't do it digitally. I felt a cold calm settle over me. This was no longer just about money. This was about survival. Leo looked at me, his face pale again. "What do we do?" he asked. I stood up. I buttoned my shirt. I picked up the tablet. "We stick to the plan," I said. "She wants me at the hearing at 9 o'clock. I will be there. She wants me medicated. I will be ready." I looked at the time. It was 5 a.m. The sun was beginning to crest over the city skyline, painting the industrial district in shades of gray and orange. "Let's go," I said. "We have a court date, and I hate to be late." The simulation of my sleeping breath played on a loop through the speakers, a rhythmic, peaceful sound that masked the digital violence occurring in the room. On the screen to the left, Vanessa's cursor hovered over the map of my house, watching the fake GPS dot that represented her father. She was comfortable. She was confident. She believed the mouse was trapped in the cage, exhausted and asleep. But on the center screen, the predator had become the prey. Leo was no longer playing defense. He was tearing through her digital life with the cold precision of a coroner performing an autopsy. We started with the financials. I always knew Vanessa liked nice things. She drove a G-Wagon. She wore designer heels that cost more than my first mortgage. She vacationed in St. Bart's. I assumed she was successful. I assumed real estate was booming. But as Leo peeled back the layers of her bank accounts, the truth bled out like oil from a ruptured tanker. It was all a facade. The structural integrity of her life was non-existent. Her primary checking account had a balance of $400. Her credit cards were maxed out, holding $40,000 in debt at 28% interest. The mansion she lived in? It was leveraged to the hilt with a second mortgage she had taken out 6 months ago without her husband's knowledge. She was drowning, and she was using a teaspoon to bail out the water. But debt alone does not turn a daughter into a monster. Debt makes you desperate, but it does not make you dismantle your father's sanity. We needed to find the catalyst. We needed to find the accelerant. Leo found it in a hidden folder on her cloud drive, labeled simply named Projects. Inside, there were no real estate listings. There were screenshots of charts, candlestick charts, crypto trading apps. She wasn't just broke. She was a gambler. I watched as Leo opened the transaction history of an offshore trading platform. The numbers were staggering. 6 months ago, She had bet the entire proceeds of that second mortgage on a speculative altcoin. She bought at the peak. 3 days later, the coin crashed. She lost $200,000 in 72 hours. She tried to win it back. That is the gambler's fallacy. She borrowed more. She leveraged deeper. She took loans from places that do not report to credit bureaus. Leo pulled up her encrypted messaging app. The thread at the top was from a user named K-Town. The messages were not polite. 3 days ago, message read, "You are late, Vanessa." 2 days ago, message read, "The interest just doubled. You owe us 150 large. Do not make us come to the open house." Yesterday, message read, "This is the last warning. Payment in full by Friday, or we take it out of your husband's knees. Or maybe we pay a visit to that old man you keep talking about." I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Friday. That was tomorrow. The hearing was Friday morning. The timeline snapped into focus with terrifying clarity. She didn't just want my money. She needed it to survive. She had 48 hours to come up with $150,000, or these loan sharks were going to hurt her. And I was her piggy bank. I was the only asset she had left to liquidate. The urgency of her attack, the sloppiness of the diaper delivery, the aggressive gaslighting. It all made sense now. She was not patient because she could not afford to be. She was operating under the gun. But knowing the motive was not enough. We needed to know the method. We needed to know exactly how she planned to extract the money so quickly. My assets were in trusts and retirement accounts. They were not easy to access, even for a daughter. "Check her legal drafts," I told Leo. "Look for documents prepared for the court." Leo minimized the crypto exchange and opened her email outbox. He searched for the domain of the family attorney, a man named Henderson, whom I had never liked. He was a shark in a cheap suit, the kind of lawyer who chased ambulances before he started chasing inheritances. There was an email sent 4 hours ago. The subject line was simply, "Petition, Final Draft." Leo opened the attachment. It was a PDF file, 50 pages long. The title page read, "Petition for Permanent Conservatorship of the Person and Estate of William Arthur Bennett." I leaned in, my eyes scanning the legal jargon. It was a masterpiece of fiction. Paragraph 4 stated, "The proposed conservatee, William Bennett, suffers from advanced cognitive decline, manifesting in paranoia, financial mismanagement, and inability to perform activities of daily living." Paragraph 5. "The conservatee has become a danger to himself, evidenced by recent attempts to wander away from his primary residence and aggressive outbursts toward family members." Then came the exhibits. Exhibit A, the email resigning from the HOA. Exhibit B, the receipt for the incontinence supplies. Exhibit C, an affidavit from Dr. Reeves stating that I scored a 10 out of 30 on a cognitive assessment test I had never taken. She had built a paper prison. Every lie she had planted over the last week was cited here as a fact. But the most damning part was the proposed plan of action on page 42. It read, "Immediate liquidation of the conservatee's primary residence is required to fund necessary 24-hour memory care. The proceeds will be placed in a controlled trust managed by the conservator, Vanessa Bennett." There it was, the house, my house, the house I built with Sarah, the house where we raised Vanessa. It was worth $1.2 million. If she got the conservatorship tomorrow morning, she could sell it by the afternoon to one of those cash for homes flippers. She would pay off the loan sharks, clear her gambling debt, and still have $1 million left to play with. And I? I would be locked in Shady Pines, medicated into a stupor, wondering why my daughter never visited. The betrayal was total. It was not just theft. It was an erasure of my existence. She was willing to label me legally incompetent, to strip me of my civil rights, to take away my vote, my checkbook, my freedom, just to cover a bad bet on a digital coin. I looked at the time on Leo's screen. It was almost 6 a.m. The sun would be up soon. The court opened at 9. We had 3 hours. We had the motive. We had the evidence of her debt. We had the proof of the threats against her. But we needed one more thing. We needed to prove that the evidence in that petition was fabricated. We needed to prove that the glitches came from her, not me. "Leo," I said, my voice steady, "go back to the ghostwriter script, the one that alters the text." He tabbed back to the code. "Does it keep a log?" I asked. "Does it keep a record of the original text versus the altered text?" Leo's eyes widened. He typed furiously. "Most malware deletes the logs to hide tracks," he muttered. "But if she is as sloppy as she is desperate..." He executed a command to dig into the root directory of the TitanPad's cloned image. He scrolled past the system files. He found a hidden folder named Cache. He double-clicked it. A text file opened. It was thousands of lines long. Timestamp, October 12th. Input: "Hello, Mrs. Gable. I am resigning because I want to travel more." Output: "Hello, board members. I am resigning because my health has deteriorated." Timestamp, October 14th. Input: search query: best bridge engineering documentaries. Output: search query: best adult diapers for men. It was all there. The original inputs. My true thoughts. My true actions. Side by side with her distortions. It was the Rosetta Stone of her deception. "Print it," I said. "Print it all." Leo hit the print command. The laser printer in the corner whirred to life. It began to spit out page after page of truth. I watched the papers stack up. It was a beautiful sight. But I knew that walking into court with a stack of paper and a laptop might not be enough. Judges are old school. They trust doctors. They trust polished lawyers. They might look at a young kid in a hoodie and an old man with a stack of printouts and see exactly what Vanessa wanted them to see. We needed a delivery system that was undeniable. We needed to make Vanessa confess. Not to me, but to the court. "Leo," I said, "can we reverse the stream?" "What do you mean?" "Right now she is seeing a fake video of me sleeping, but tomorrow, when she walks into that courtroom, she will have her phone with her. She will be checking the feed to make sure I am still compliant." "Yes," Leo said slowly. "She will be monitoring the app." "I want you to hijack the feed," I said. "When I walk into that courtroom, I don't want her to see me. I want her to see herself." "I don't understand," Leo said. I pointed to the file of the loan shark threats. I pointed to the crypto losses. "I want you to build a new loop," I explained. "When the judge asks her why she needs to take control of my money, I want you to broadcast the truth to every screen in that courtroom that is connected to the courtroom Wi-Fi. Can you do that?" Leo looked at me. A slow smile spread across his face. It was the smile of an engineer who had just figured out how to make water flow uphill. "It is illegal, Grandpa," he said. "It is highly intrusive." "So is putting your father in a cage," I replied. Leo turned back to his keyboard. I will need to crack the courthouse network, he said, his fingers already moving. Give me 30 minutes. I sat back in the chair and watched the printer churn. The sun was rising outside, casting long shadows across the loft. I felt a strange sense of calm. The fear was gone. The hurt was still there, a dull ache in my chest where my love for my daughter used to be. But the engineer was in control now. I picked up the black moleskin notebook. I opened it to today's date, October 16th. I took out my pen and wrote a single entry. 9 a.m. Court hearing. Scheduled demolition of a condemned structure. I closed the book. I was ready. The hardest part of building a bridge is not pouring the concrete or welding the steel. It is the waiting. You have to wait for the foundation to set, wait for the inspections, wait for the weather to clear. Patience is an engineering principle. But sitting in Leo's loft as the sun began to climb higher in the sky, patience felt like a physical weight pressing down on my chest. We had the evidence. We had the strategy. But to make the trap work, we had to sell the lie one last time. We had to convince Vanessa that her plan was working so perfectly that she would walk into that courtroom unarmed, arrogant, and unprepared. Leo spun his chair around and looked at me. He held up a wrinkled, coffee-stained t-shirt he had pulled from his laundry basket. "Put this on, Grandpa," he said. I looked at the garment with distaste. I had worn a suit and tie to work every day for 40 years. Even in retirement, I wore a collared shirt. Dignity was in the details. "Leo, I am not wearing your dirty laundry," I said. "Grandpa, this is not a fashion show." "It is a costume," Leo insisted, his voice serious. "Vanessa expects to see a man who has given up. A man who cannot even dress himself. If you appear on that screen looking sharp and angry, she will know something is wrong. She will wipe the servers before we can hijack the courtroom feed. You need to look defeated." I sighed. He was right. Logic dictated that the camouflage must match the environment. I unbuttoned my crisp Oxford shirt, folding it neatly on the desk, and pulled the stained gray t-shirt over my head. It smelled of stale pizza and late nights. I felt ridiculous. I felt small. "Now your hair," Leo said. He reached out and mussed my silver hair, pulling strands forward, making me look wild and unkempt. I caught my reflection in the dark monitor of a powered-down computer. The man staring back at me was a stranger. He looked frail. He looked lost. It was terrifying how easily the visual markers of competence could be stripped away. "Okay," Leo said, turning back to his console. "I am going to drop the simulation loop. The moment I do, the live feed from the tablet cameras will reconnect to her phone. She will get a notification that movement has been detected. She will check in." "And what do I do?" I asked, feeling a nervous flutter in my stomach. "You do nothing," Leo coached. "You stare at the wall. You mumble. If she asks you a question, you answer a different question. You confuse the past with the present." "And Grandpa?" "Do not look at the camera. Look through it, like you do not recognize what it is." It was acting. I had never acted in my life. I dealt in hard facts, not theater. But I closed my eyes and thought about the fear I had felt 3 days ago when the first money vanished. I channeled that helplessness. I let my shoulders slump forward. I let my jaw go slack. "Ready?" Leo whispered. I nodded. He tapped a key. The green light on the tablet flickered to life. We were live. For a long minute, nothing happened. The room was silent, except for the hum of the servers. I sat on the futon, staring blankly at a water stain on the brick wall, rocking slightly back and forth. I tried to make my breathing shallow and audible. Then the tablet chimed. The screen lit up. Vanessa's face filled the frame. She was in her car, wearing large sunglasses and a scarf, holding a travel mug. She looked impatient. "Dad?" she said. Her voice was sharp. "Dad, are you there?" I didn't answer immediately. I counted to 5 in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I slowly turned my head toward the device, keeping my eyes unfocused. "Who is that?" I croaked. My voice sounded thin, even to my own ears. "It is Vanessa, Dad. Jesus, you look terrible. Where are you?" I looked around the room, feigning confusion. "I am waiting for the bus," I said. "The bus to the bridge. The inspection is at 8. Vanessa let out a sigh that crackled through the speakers. "Dad, you are not an engineer anymore. There is no bridge. You were at Leo's apartment, remember? I told you to go home, but I see you are still sitting there." "Leo?" I asked, squinting. "Who is Leo?" I saw a small smile tug at the corner of Vanessa's mouth. It was a cruel, satisfied smile. This was exactly what she wanted. This was the footage she needed to show the judge. "See, Your Honor? He does not even know his own grandson." "Leo is your grandson, Dad. The one who is taking advantage of you." "Is he there?" I looked at Leo, who was sitting just out of frame, giving me a thumbs up. "The boy?" I mumbled. "The boy with the wires. He gave me coffee. It tasted like mud." Vanessa laughed, a short, barking sound. "Okay, Dad, listen to me. Stay there. Do not wander off. I am coming to pick you up in an hour to take you to the meeting. Do you remember the meeting?" "The meeting," I repeated, testing the word. "The board meeting? I have my report ready." "No, Dad. The court hearing. We are going to see the judge. To get you some help. To make sure no one can steal your money again." "Money," I whispered, letting my hands tremble visibly. "My money is gone. The machine ate it." "Yes, the machine ate it," Vanessa said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "That is why I need to take the machine away. Just sit tight. Do not touch anything." She was about to hang up. I knew I had to twist the knife one last time. I had to ensure she was so confident in my dementia that she wouldn't bother to check her server logs. I had to say the one thing that would convince her I was completely gone. I leaned forward, bringing my face close to the camera. "Sarah?" I asked softly. Vanessa froze. Her hand hovered over the disconnect button. "Sarah, are you coming home?" I asked, injecting a desperate, pleading tone into my voice. "I made pot roast. I know you like pot roast." Vanessa's expression shifted. For a fleeting second, I saw a flash of guilt, but it was instantly replaced by cold calculation. She knew this clip was gold. A man talking to his dead wife. It was the final nail in the coffin of my competency. "Mom is dead, Dad," she said flatly. "Just wait for me." The screen went black. I held the pose for another 10 seconds, just in case. Then, Leo tapped the keyboard, cutting the feed and looping the video of me rocking back and forth. I let out a long, shuddering breath and sat up straight. I wiped the sweat from my forehead. "Did she buy it?" I asked. Leo spun his chair around. He was grinning. "Buy it? Grandpa, she just saved that clip to her cloud drive. I can see the upload happening right now. She titled it, Dad Hallucinating Mom. She is going to play that for the judge as her opening statement. I felt a wave of nausea. Using Sarah's name like that felt like a betrayal, even if it was for a greater good. I stood up and pulled the dirty t-shirt off, throwing it into the corner. I buttoned my Oxford shirt with shaking fingers. It was necessary, I told myself. It was a strategic maneuver. We have 45 minutes before she gets here, Leo said, his fingers flying across the keys again. I am finalizing the hijack protocol. When you walk into that courtroom, her phone is going to auto-connect to the public Wi-Fi. I have set up a spoofing node. Explain, I said, tucking my shirt in. Basically, I am the Wi-Fi now, Leo said. When she tries to stream the video of you hallucinating, I am going to intercept the request. I will replace her video file with our video file. The file of the crypto losses? I asked. And the loan shark threats, Leo confirmed. And the log of the ghostwriter script changing your emails. It will all play on the courtroom monitors. She won't be able to stop it. And what about me? I asked. She expects a senile old man. You give her a senile old man, Leo said. Until you get into the box. You shuffle. You mumble. You let her lead you by the arm. You let her talk over you. You let her dig the hole so deep she can't climb out. And then, when the judge asks you to speak, I looked at my reflection in the window. The sun was fully up now. The city looked bright and sharp. I adjusted my collar. I smoothed down my hair. Then I dropped the act, I said. Exactly. A car horn honked from the street below. She is here, Leo said. I grabbed the Titan pad. I looked at the black moleskin notebook sitting on the desk. Keep the book, Leo said. You might need it. I slipped the notebook into my jacket pocket. I looked at my grandson one last time. See you on the other side, Leo. I walked to the door. I stooped my shoulders. I shuffled my feet. I let my mouth hang open slightly. I opened the door and stepped out into the hallway, leaving the engineer behind and becoming the victim one last time. Down on the street, Vanessa was waiting. She was leaning against her silver Mercedes, checking her watch. When she saw me emerge from the building, looking disheveled and confused, she didn't rush over to help me. She didn't offer an arm. She simply unlocked the back door and gestured for me to get in. "Get in, Dad," she said. "We are going for a ride." I climbed into the back seat. The leather was cold. The car smelled of expensive perfume and stale cigarette smoke. As we pulled away from the curb, I looked up at the loft window. I couldn't see Leo, but I knew he was there. I knew the invisible tether between us was holding. Vanessa turned up the radio. She didn't speak to me. She was busy rehearsing her opening statement to the rearview mirror. "It is for his own good," she whispered to herself. "He is a danger to himself." I sat in the back, clutching the tablet, and for the first time in 11 days, I smiled. But I made sure she didn't see it. We were going to court, and I was bringing the verdict with me. The doorbell rang at exactly 2 in the afternoon. It was a sharp, intrusive sound that sliced through the quiet tension of my living room. I was sitting in my recliner, wearing the same stained t-shirt Leo had given me, staring at the blank television screen. I had not shaved in 3 days. I had not combed my hair. I looked like a man who had given up on the world, which was exactly the role I had to play. Vanessa entered first, using her key. The sound of the lock turning felt like a violation. She breezed in, bringing with her a gust of expensive perfume and frantic energy. Behind her walked a man I assumed was Dr. Reeves. He was tall, thin, and wore a suit that cost more than my car. He carried a leather briefcase and had the kind of polished, practiced smile that politicians use before they raise your taxes. He did not look like a doctor who cured people. He looked like a doctor who closed deals. "Dad, wake up!" Vanessa said loudly, clapping her hands near my face as if I were a deaf dog. "Dr. Reeves is here to see you. Remember I told you about him?" I slowly turned my head, keeping my eyes glazed and unfocused. I let my mouth hang open slightly. I looked at the stranger and then back at the TV. "The cable is out," I mumbled. "I can't find the news." "Doctor?" Reeves stepped forward, extending a hand that was soft and cold. "Mr. Bennett, I am Dr. Reeves. Vanessa asked me to stop by and just have a little chat. We want to make sure you are feeling your best." I looked at his hand but did not shake it. Instead, I pulled at a loose thread on my t-shirt, unraveling it with obsessive focus. "Who are you?" I asked. "The insurance man? I already paid the premium." Vanessa exchanged a look with the doctor. It was a look of triumph. "See," her eyes said, "he is gone." "Why don't you go make us some tea, Vanessa?" Dr. Reeves suggested smoothly. "I will sit here with your father for a few minutes." Vanessa nodded. "I will be right in the kitchen if you need anything." She walked away, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. I watched her go. I knew exactly where she was going. She was going to the kitchen island, where she would lean against the granite counter and check her phone. She did not know that taped underneath that granite counter was a high-fidelity microphone, no larger than a button, that Leo had installed while I was distracting her in the driveway earlier that morning. Every word she spoke, every breath she took, was being transmitted directly to Leo's server. Dr. Reeves pulled a chair close to mine. He sat down and opened a file on his lap. He clicked a gold pen. The sound was deafening in the silence. "Mr. Bennett, I am going to ask you a few simple questions. Is that okay?" I continued pulling at the thread. "Is it raining?" I asked. "No, Mr. Bennett, it is sunny." "Now, can you tell me what year it is?" I paused. This was the moment. The engineer in me screamed to answer correctly. "It is 2023. It is October." I wanted to prove I was sharp. I wanted to humiliate him with my precision. But the plan demanded sacrifice. I looked at the ceiling. I furrowed my brow, pretending to struggle through a fog that did not exist. "It is 1982, I whispered. "Sarah is picking up Vanessa from school." Dr. Reeves did not look up. He simply made a check mark on his paper. "Interesting," he murmured. "And can you tell me where we are right now?" "We are at the station," I said, "waiting for the train." He made another check mark. He was moving fast. Too fast. He wasn't really assessing me. He was confirming a diagnosis he had already written before he walked through the door. "I want you to count backwards from 100 by sevens," he said, sounding bored. 100, I began. 90, 92, 80, 5, 7. Blue. I let my voice trail off into nonsense. I saw a flicker of a smile on his face. It was not a smile of compassion. It was the smile of a man who realized this was going to be an easy paycheck. While he pretended to write notes, I strained my ears to hear the kitchen. I couldn't hear the words clearly from where I sat, but I knew Leo was hearing them. In my mind, I could picture the scene. Vanessa pacing. Dr. Reeves eventually joining her to discuss the fee. Back in the living room, Reeves held up a picture of a wristwatch. "What is this?" he asked. "It is a compass," I said, "to find north." He put the picture down. He closed the file. He had been with me for less than 5 minutes. A standard cognitive assessment takes at least 30. He stood up. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett. You did very well." He walked into the kitchen. I remained in the chair, but I leaned my head slightly to the right, toward the open archway. I heard Vanessa's voice. It was low but carrying. "Well, how bad is it?" I heard Reeves sigh, a theatrical, heavy sigh. "It is advanced, Vanessa. Very advanced. He is completely disoriented to time and place. Global aphasia. He does not know what year it is. He thinks a watch is a compass. Frankly, I am surprised he is still living independently. It is a liability." "So you will sign the affidavit?" Vanessa asked. The urgency in her voice was like a blade. "I have it right here," Reeves said. "But Vanessa, we discussed the expedited fee. Since I have to testify in court tomorrow morning on such short notice." I heard the rustle of paper. I imagined her handing him a check, or perhaps logging into that crypto wallet to make a transfer. "Don't worry about the money, Doctor. Once the conservatorship is granted tomorrow, the house goes on the market immediately. I have a cash buyer lined up. You will get your bonus. Just make sure you tell the judge he is nonverbal and aggressive. I don't want him taking the stand." "Aggressive?" Reeves asked. "He seemed pretty docile to me." "He throws things," Vanessa lied smoothly. "He threw a laptop at me yesterday. That is why I had to take his devices away. He is violent, Doctor. We need him sedated before the hearing." There was a pause, a long, chilling pause. "I can prescribe a heavy sedative," Reeves said. "Haloperidol. If you give it to him with his morning coffee, he will be a zombie by 9 a.m. He won't be able to say his own name, let alone object to emotion." "Perfect," Vanessa said. "Write the script." I sat in the living room, my hands gripping the armrests of the recliner so hard I thought the leather would tear. They were not just planning to steal my life. They were planning to chemical lobotomize me. They were discussing the destruction of my mind with the casual tone of two people discussing a dinner menu. I felt a cold sweat break out on my back. This was real. This was a crime in progress, and I was the evidence. Reeves walked back into the living room, followed by Vanessa. He handed her a small piece of paper. The prescription. "Mr. Bennett, it was nice meeting you," he said, not even looking at me. I did not answer. I stared at the wall, rocking back and forth. "Dad, say goodbye to Dr. Reeves," Vanessa commanded. "Goodbye, insurance man," I mumbled. They walked to the door. Vanessa opened it for him. "See you in court, Doctor," she said softly. 9 a.m. sharp, he replied. "Do not be late, and make sure he takes that medicine." "I will," she promised. The door closed. Vanessa leaned her back against it and let out a long breath. She looked at me across the room. Her expression was unreadable. Was it pity? Was it guilt? No. As she pushed herself off the door and walked toward me, I saw what it was. It was relief. She thought she had won. She thought the finish line was crossed. "Dad, I'm going to head out for a while," she said, grabbing her purse. "I have some paperwork to file. There is food in the fridge. Do not turn on the stove. Do not answer the door. Just sit there and watch TV. I nodded slowly. Good boy, she said. She left. I listened to the sound of her car engine starting. I listened to the tires crunch on the gravel. I waited until the sound faded completely into the distance. Then, I stopped rocking. I sat up straight. I reached under the cushion of the recliner and pulled out the burner phone Leo had given me. I dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Did you get it? I asked. I got it all, Grandpa, Leo said. His voice was shaking with rage. I have the bribery, I have the lies about the violence, and I have the conspiracy to sedate you. That prescription pad is the smoking gun. What about the video? I asked. I am syncing the audio to the courtroom presentation now, Leo said. When Dr. Reeves takes the stand tomorrow and swears an oath that you are incompetent, the whole room is going to hear him negotiating his bonus for lying. I looked at the empty spot on the table where Vanessa had stood. She wants a zombie, Leo, I said quietly. Then let's give her one, Leo replied. Do not take that pill, Grandpa. But act like you did. When you walk into that courtroom tomorrow, I want you to look like you are walking in your sleep. I will, I said. Get some rest, Leo said. Tomorrow is war. I hung up the phone. The house was silent again, but now the silence didn't feel oppressive. It felt like the calm before the storm. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lawn that I used to mow every Saturday. I thought about the bridge I built in 1995 over the Colorado River. It was a suspension bridge. It relied on tension. If the cables were too loose, it would sag. If they were too tight, they would snap. You had to find the perfect balance. Tomorrow, I would walk that wire. I would walk into a room full of people who thought I was broken. And I would show them that the foundation was stronger than they could ever imagine. I went to the kitchen. I found the bottle of water Vanessa had left for me. I poured it down the sink. Then I went to the bedroom, lay down on top of the covers, and closed my eyes. I didn't need the sedative. I needed the anger. And I had plenty of that to keep me warm. The silence in the house after Dr. Reeves left was heavy. But the silence that followed Vanessa's return 2 hours later was suffocating. I was still in the recliner, my body angled toward the television that was playing a muted cooking show. I had practiced my pose, slumped shoulders, head lolling slightly to the left, hands limp in my lap. To anyone watching, I was a man under the heavy influence of haloperidol. I was a shell, a piece of furniture with a pulse. I heard the car pull up first. It was not Vanessa's Mercedes. It was a heavier engine, something with horsepower. A moment later, I heard the click of heels on the walkway, followed by the heavy tread of men's dress shoes. The key turned in the lock. My heart rate spiked, but I forced my breathing to remain shallow and rhythmic. I was an engineer. I knew how to regulate pressure. Vanessa breezed in, holding the door open. Her voice was bright, artificial. The voice she used when she was closing a deal on a penthouse. "Welcome in, gentlemen," she said. "Please, excuse the mess. As I mentioned on the phone, the situation is a bit fluid, but the bones of the house are spectacular." 2 men walked in. They looked like sharks in Italian suits. One was older, with silver hair and a face that looked like it had been tanned too many times. The other was younger, holding a tablet and a laser measuring tool. They didn't wipe their feet. They walked straight onto the hardwood floor Sarah and I had refinished with our own hands 20 years ago. The older man stopped. He looked directly at me. "I thought you said the property was vacant, Vanessa," he said, his voice annoyed. Vanessa laughed, a dismissive, airy sound. "Oh, don't mind him. That is just my father. He is waiting for transport. He has had a very difficult week, health-wise. The medication makes him completely unaware of his surroundings. Honestly, you could fire a cannon in here and he wouldn't blink." She walked over to me, her hand brushing my shoulder with a cold familiarity. "Dad, can you hear me?" I didn't move. I stared at a spot on the carpet, letting a small line of saliva pool at the corner of my mouth. I had to sell it. I had to be the vegetable she claimed I was. "See?" she said, turning back to the men. "He is in another world. He will be moved to a facility tomorrow morning. You will have full possession by noon." The older man grunted. He walked around my chair as if I were a statue, inspecting the crown molding above my head. "Standard 8-foot ceilings," he muttered. "We will have to rip those out, vault the roof, open up the space." The younger man pointed his laser at the wall where my wedding photos hung. "We knock this wall down, open the kitchen into the living room," he said. "Create a flow. Get rid of all this dated wood. It smells like 1980 in here." Dated wood? That was American oak. I selected each plank myself. Vanessa nodded eagerly. "Exactly. It is a gut job. I know that. That is why I priced it aggressively. The land value alone is worth the asking price. The house is just structure to be removed. Structure to be removed." That is what I was to them. Not a father, not a homeowner. Just debris. They moved into the kitchen. I strained my ears, grateful for the open floor plan they despised so much. "The appliances are trash," the older man said. I heard the refrigerator door open and close. Stainless steel, but old. "Scratch it." "What about the foundation?" "Solid as a rock," Vanessa said. "My father was an engineer. If there is one thing this house has, it is good bones." "But the aesthetic? It is a disaster. Look at this tile. Hideous." "Sarah picked that tile. We spent 3 weekends laying it. We laughed so hard when we mixed the grout wrong the first time." "I can have a demo crew here by Friday afternoon," the younger man said. "If we sign today." Friday afternoon. Tomorrow. They were planning to smash my life into a dumpster less than 24 hours from now. They walked back through the living room. The older man stopped in front of me again. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and disgust. "Is he, continent?" he asked, wrinkling his nose. Vanessa lowered her voice, conspiratorial. "We have had some accidents," she lied. "That is why." And thanks to Leo's microphone, which I knew was sensitive enough to pick up sound from the hallway, every word was being recorded. I heard the door to my bedroom creak open. "Decent size," the younger man said. "Ensuite bath?" "Yes," Vanessa replied. "It needs work, obviously. The tub is a safety hazard. But the walk-in closet is huge." I heard the sound of a drawer opening. My dresser drawer. "Look at this," the older man laughed. "Does he really wear suspenders?" "He is very old-fashioned," Vanessa said. "I'm just going to donate all of this. Or burn it. It is easier than packing." Burn it. My clothes. My life. "What is in the box?" the younger man asked. I froze. The box on my nightstand. It was a small wooden box Sarah gave me on our 25th anniversary. It contained her wedding ring, a lock of her hair, and the letters she wrote me when I was working overseas. It was the most valuable thing I owned. "Oh, just junk," Vanessa said. "Old letters, trinkets, nothing of value." I heard the box snap shut. "Toss it," the older man said. "We need the room empty." I closed my eyes. I imagined myself standing up, walking down that hall and throwing them all out the window. But I stayed seated. I stayed limp. Because if I moved now, I lost the house forever. If I stayed still, I had a chance to save it. They walked back into the living room. The tour was over. "Okay, Vanessa," the older man said. "I've seen enough. It is a teardown, but the lot is good. We will give you the 800,000. Cash, as is." 800,000. The house was appraised at 1.2 million last year. She was throwing away $400,000 just to get the cash fast enough to pay off her loan sharks. "That is a little lower than we discussed," Vanessa said, hesitating. "I was hoping for 950. "Take it or leave it," the man said. "You want a quick close? You want no inspections? You want us to deal with the junk removal? 800. The money is in escrow tonight." There was a silence. I could hear Vanessa calculating. She needed 150,000 for the sharks. 800 was more than enough. Greed battled with desperation. Desperation won. "Fine," she said. 800. But I need the wire release authorized immediately after the court hearing tomorrow. "Done," the man said. "Send the contract to my lawyer. We will sign digitally." They shook hands. I heard the slap of flesh on flesh, the sound of my home being sold out from under me. "Great," the younger man said. He looked at me one last time. "What about him?" "Like I said," Vanessa replied, walking them to the door. "He won't be here. By the time your crew arrives, he will be a permanent resident of Shady Pines. You won't ever see him again." "Good," the man said. "I hate dealing with squatters." They laughed. They actually laughed. Vanessa opened the front door. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I will email the DocuSign in 10 minutes. The men left. The door clicked shut. Vanessa leaned against it, letting out a whoop of excitement. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." She pushed off the door and did a little spin. She looked at me. She walked over and stood directly in front of my chair. She leaned down, her face inches from mine. "Did you hear that, Dad?" she whispered. "You are rich." "Well, I am rich." "And you? You are going to be very comfortable." She patted my cheek. It was a hard, stinging pat. "You really are a good boy when you are medicated," she said. She straightened up and pulled out her phone. She dialed a number. "Todd? It is done. I got the buyer. 800. Yes, I know it is low. Shut up. It covers the debt and leaves us with plenty. Get the champagne ready. I am just going to finish the paperwork here and then I will come home. The old man? He is vegetable soup. He hasn't moved an inch." She walked to the kitchen table and opened her laptop. I sat there listening to her type, listening to her sell my life away. But inside, the vegetable was gone. Inside, the engineer was wide awake. I was memorizing every word. I was cataloging every insult. She thought I was invisible. She thought I was debris. But she forgot one thing about debris. If you pile enough of it up, and you light a match, It burns hotter than anything else. And I was already holding the match. The sun began to dip lower, casting long shadows across the floor where the sharks had stood. I watched the dust motes dancing in the light. They were my dust motes. This was my floor. And no one, absolutely no one, was going to tear it down. I waited until I heard her close the laptop. I waited until she packed her bag. "All right, Dad," she called out, not even looking at me. "I am leaving. The nurse will be here at 7 to change you and give you dinner. Be good." She walked out. She didn't say, "I love you." She didn't look back. The moment the door locked, I let out a breath that I felt I had been holding for an hour. My muscles ached from the tension. My jaw was sore from clenching it. I stood up. I walked to the window and watched her drive away. Then I walked to the kitchen. I looked at the spot where the microphone was hidden. I spoke clearly, knowing Leo was listening. "Leo." "Yes, Grandpa." His voice came through the burner phone in my pocket instantly. "Did you get the buyers?" "I got their names, their license plate, and the recording of them conspiring to buy the property under market value," Leo said. "That is fraud, Grandpa. Vanessa just incriminated herself in a felony." "Good," I said. I looked around the kitchen. The kitchen she wanted to gut. The kitchen where Sarah used to dance while making pasta. "Leo," I said. "Yeah?" "Print the photos." "Which photos?" "The photos of the house. The way it looks now. The garden, the workshop, the bedroom." "Why?" "Because tomorrow, when I stand in front of that judge, I am not just going to fight for my money. I am going to show him what a home looks like. And I am going to show him exactly what kind of monster tries to destroy it for a quick buck." "I am on it," Leo said. I walked back to the living room. I picked up the picture of Sarah from the mantelpiece, the one Vanessa hadn't bothered to look at. "We are going to be okay, Sarah," I whispered. I sat back down in the recliner, but this time I didn't slump. I sat tall. I was ready for court. The living room of Vanessa's house had always felt cold to me, despite the expensive heating system and the plush velvet furniture. But on that Thursday evening, it felt like a meat locker. This was not a dinner party. It was a tribunal. I sat in the corner on a stiff-backed wooden chair that Vanessa had placed specifically for me, separated from the rest of the family like a defendant in a high-profile trial. I was wearing the same stained gray shirt. I had let my stubble grow into a rough white patch on my chin. I kept my hands folded in my lap, gripping my thumbs until the joints turned white, reminding myself that silence was my only shield. Around the coffee table sat the jury. There was my sister Clara, who was 70 years old and had a heart of gold, but a mind that was easily swayed by tears. There was my brother-in-law Mike, a man who respected success and saw Vanessa's luxury car as proof of her moral character. And then there were a few cousins, people I saw once a year at Thanksgiving, who looked at me now with a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. They were not bad people. They were just an audience, and Vanessa was the director of the play. She stood in front of the fireplace, wearing a modest black dress that made her look somber, responsible, and burdened. She held the Titan pad in her hand like a holy book. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she began, her voice trembling with a perfectly rehearsed emotion. "It has been the hardest week of my life. As you know, Dad has been struggling since Mom passed, but we all thought it was just grief. We thought it would pass." She paused, looking at me with eyes that glistened with fake tears. But we were wrong, she whispered. It is not grief. It is a rapid, aggressive cognitive decline. Dr. Reeves calls it a cascade failure of the frontal lobe. Aunt Clara gasped, bringing a tissue to her nose. I stared at the floor, counting the fibers in the rug. 1, 2, 3. Keep counting, Bill. Do not look up. Do not correct her. Vanessa tapped the screen of the tablet. The massive television mounted above the fireplace flickered to life. I did not want to show you this, she said. It feels like a violation of his dignity. But you need to understand why I am taking the steps I am taking. You need to understand why we cannot wait another day. The video began to play. It was the footage from this morning, the footage of me standing in the driveway, disheveled and wild-eyed, looking into the camera lens and asking for my dead wife. Sarah? The voice on the screen cracked. Sarah, are you coming home? I made pot roast. I heard a sob break out in the room. It was Clara. Oh, Billy, she wept. Oh, my poor brother. The video continued. Vanessa's voice on the recording was gentle, patient. Mom is dead, Dad. The screen went black. The silence in the room was absolute. It was the heavy, suffocating silence of a funeral. Vanessa let it hang there for a long moment, letting the horror sink into their bones. She was a master of timing. That was this morning, she said softly. He does not know what year it is. He does not know that Mom has been gone for 5 years. He wanders out into the street, waiting for a bus to a job he retired from a decade ago. She swiped the tablet. A new image appeared. It was a spreadsheet, color-coded in red. And this, she said, her voice hardening slightly, is what happens when he is left alone with a bank account. The screen showed the fabricated transactions. The $3,000 to the crypto laundromat disguised as a medical supply store. The withdrawals. The impulsive online shopping. In the last 10 days alone, he has drained nearly $15,000, Vanessa lied, pointing at the chart. He buys things he does not need. He sends money to scammers. He resigned from the HOA because he thought he was moving to Europe. Mike leaned forward, squinting at the screen. 15 grand. Jesus, Bill. He does not know he is doing it, Mike, Vanessa said quickly, stepping between Mike and me, physically blocking his view of me. That is the tragedy. He wakes up the next day and remembers nothing. If I do not stop this, he will be destitute by Christmas. He will lose the house. He will lose everything Mom worked so hard for. She walked over to the coffee table and picked up a stack of documents. They were thick, bound in blue paper. I have spoken to Dr. Reeves and our family attorney, she announced. We have an emergency hearing tomorrow morning to grant me permanent conservatorship. It gives me the legal power to freeze his accounts, manage his estate, and most importantly, place him in a facility where he can get 24-hour care. She looked around the room, making eye contact with every single person. I know it sounds harsh. I know it seems fast. But I cannot do this alone anymore. I need your support. I need you to sign this family consensus statement. It tells the judge that we are united, that we all agree this is what is best for Dad. She placed the document on the table next to a heavy, expensive fountain pen. Clara was the first to stand up. She walked over to me. She smelled of lavender and old face powder. She knelt down and took my hand. Her skin was papery and warm. Billy, she whispered, do you know who I am? I looked at her. I loved my sister. I wanted to squeeze her hand and tell her that it was a trap. I wanted to tell her that the woman standing by the fireplace was a predator. But if I showed a spark of recognition now, Vanessa would panic. She would cancel the hearing. She would find another way to drug me or make me disappear. I needed to be in that courtroom tomorrow. I looked through her. I pulled my hand away slowly. "The train is late," I mumbled. "Sarah will be worried." Clara burst into fresh tears. She stood up, walked to the table, and signed the paper. "It is the only mercy," she sobbed to Vanessa. "Do it. Save him." One by one, they signed. Mike signed, shaking his head, muttering about the tragedy of aging. The cousins signed. They were signing away my freedom, my rights, and my dignity, believing they were performing an act of charity. Finally, the paper came to Vanessa. She picked it up. She looked at the signatures. A look of pure, unadulterated satisfaction crossed her face. It lasted only a fraction of a second, but I saw it. It was the look of a gambler who had just seen the final card fall in her favor. "There is one last signature we need," she said. She walked over to me. She crouched down, bringing her face level with mine. Up close, I could see the makeup caked in the fine lines of her eyes. I could smell the coffee on her breath. "Dad," she said loudly, "I need you to sign this for me. It is for the bank, so I can help you pay the bills." She put the pen in my hand. It was cold and heavy. I held it awkwardly, letting it slip in my fingers. "Sign here," she said, pointing to the line. "Just write, Bill." I hesitated. This was the hardest part. My signature was something I took pride in. It was the mark I put on blueprints. It was the guarantee that a structure would stand. To scribble it like a child, to devalue it, felt like erasing my own name. I felt a sudden, violent urge to jam the pen into her leg, to stand up and shout the truth. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. The adrenaline was sour in my mouth. But I remembered the plan. I remembered Leo working in the loft. I remembered the sold house. I remembered the drugs she planned to force-feed me. I let my hand shake. I dragged the nib of the pen across the paper, making a jagged, illegible scrawl that looked vaguely like a B. "Good job, Dad," Vanessa cooed. She snatched the paper away before I could finish. She stood up and held the document to her chest. "Thank you, everyone," she said. "I have ordered some food. Please, stay. Eat. I am going to take Dad to his room and get him settled. He has a big day tomorrow." She grabbed my arm. Her grip was tight, her fingernails digging into my bicep. She pulled me up from the chair. "Come on, old man," she whispered in my ear, too low for the others to hear. "Time to go back in the box." I let her lead me out of the room. I shuffled my feet. I kept my head down. As we passed the dining room, I saw the reflection in the mirror. I saw a broken, gray-haired man being led away by a dutiful daughter. But as we turned the corner into the hallway, out of sight of the family, I lifted my head for just a second. I looked at the security camera mounted on the ceiling, the camera that I knew Leo had hacked hours ago. I blinked once, slowly. It was not a blink of confusion. It was a signal. The Trojan horse was inside the gates. The contract was signed. She felt safe. And that was exactly where we wanted her. The van pulled up at 8:15. It did not have a logo on the side, just a stark, white metal box on wheels that looked more like a dog catcher's vehicle than a medical transport. I was sitting in the recliner, exactly where Vanessa had ordered me to stay. I had not slept, but I kept my eyes half closed, mimicking the heavy, drugged stupor of a man under sedation. My heart was beating a slow, steady rhythm against my ribs, counting down the seconds. Vanessa entered first. She was dressed for victory. She wore a navy blue power suit, sharp heels, and her hair was pulled back in a severe, tight bun. She looked like a woman who had already spent the money she was about to steal. Behind her walked two men. They were not doctors. They were muscle. They wore scrubs that were too tight across their chests, and they smelled of stale tobacco and indifference. "There he is," Vanessa said, gesturing to me as if I were a piece of furniture she was putting out on the curb. "He is compliant. I gave him the medication 2 hours ago. He shouldn't give you any trouble." One of the men stepped forward. He didn't say hello. He didn't introduce himself. He simply reached down and grabbed my upper arm. His grip was like a vice. It was the grip of a man who was used to handling people who could not fight back. "Up we go, Pops," he grunted. I let my body go limp. I forced them to take my dead weight, dragging my feet across the floorboards. I let my head loll to the side, my jaw slack. I focused my eyes on a dust mote, floating in the shaft of sunlight coming through the window, refusing to look at them directly. "Careful with him," Vanessa snapped, checking her watch. "I need him presentable for the judge. Don't bruise him where it shows." The men hoisted me up. I shuffled between them, playing the part of the confused geriatric to perfection. Where are we going?" I mumbled, slurring my words intentionally. Is it time for church?" Vanessa laughed, a dry, humorless sound, as she checked her reflection in the hallway mirror. "No, Dad, it is not church. We are going to see the man who is going to fix everything. And then these nice gentlemen are going to take you to your new room. You are going to love it. It has a view of the parking lot." She opened the front door. The fresh air hit my face, and for a second, I wanted to stand up straight, shake off these goons, and roar at her. I wanted to tell her that I had built skyscrapers that scraped the clouds, and she was not fit to shine my shoes. But I swallowed the rage. I let it burn in my gut, fueling me. We walked down the driveway. The neighbors were watching. Mrs. Higgins was peering through her curtains. I saw the mailman stop his truck. They all saw the same thing. Poor Bill Bennett, losing his mind, being taken away for his own safety by his devoted daughter. Vanessa unlocked her Mercedes. "Put him in the back," she ordered, "and sit with him. I don't want him thrashing around and ruining the leather." I was shoved into the back seat. The larger of the two men squeezed in beside me, pressing me against the door. Vanessa got into the driver's seat. She adjusted the rear-view mirror, but she didn't look at me. She looked at her own eyes. She smiled. It was a predator's smile. She pulled out her phone and tapped the screen. "Todd, we are mobile," she said. "I have the package. Meet us at the courthouse. And bring the champagne. By noon, we are popping corks." She put the car in gear. As we pulled away from the house, I didn't look back. I didn't say goodbye to the home I had lived in for 40 years, because I knew I would be back. Vanessa thought she was driving a senile old man to his execution. She didn't know she was chauffeuring the executioner to her own trial. I closed my eyes and let my head rest against the cool glass of the window. "Let's go, Nessie," I thought. "Drive fast. Justice hates to wait." The air in the courtroom was stale and smelled of floor wax. Vanessa guided me to the plaintiff table, her hand gripping my elbow with a possessive tightness. She sat me down next to Dr. Reeves, who ignored me completely, too busy adjusting his silk tie. I slumped in the chair, chin to my chest, staring at the scuff marks on the linoleum. From the corner of my eye, I saw the judge enter. He was a stern man with reading glasses perched on the end of his nose. Vanessa stood up immediately. Her voice was steady, projecting the image of a heartbroken daughter doing her duty. "Your Honor," she began, "we are seeking an emergency permanent conservatorship. My father is no longer capable of managing his affairs. He is a danger to himself. To prove the severity of his condition, I would like to play a video recording taken just yesterday." She walked to the podium and connected her phone to the courtroom's audio-visual system. She looked back at me one last time, a smirk touching her lips. She thought she was about to show the world a video of me hallucinating my dead wife. She thought she was pressing the button that would delete my freedom. I held my breath. In my pocket, I squeezed the burner phone. "Leo, do it now." Vanessa tapped the screen. "Please watch the monitor, Your Honor," she said. The massive screen behind the judge flickered to life. But it was not the video of me in the driveway. It was a video of Vanessa. She was standing in my kitchen, holding a glass of wine, talking to her husband on speakerphone. The audio boomed through the quiet courtroom. "The old man is vegetable soup," Vanessa's voice sneered from the speakers. "I sold the house for 800 grand. The wire hits tomorrow. We pay off the sharks, and we still have enough for a trip to Cabo." Vanessa froze. She tapped the screen frantically. "No," she stammered. That is the wrong file." But the video did not stop. It cut to a new image, a screenshot of her crypto wallet. Then a screenshot of the text messages from the loan sharks threatening to break her legs. Then a recording of Dr. Reeves asking for his bonus to falsify my medical records. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge pulled his glasses off, his face darkening with rage. "Doctor." Reeves tried to stand up, his face the color of ash, but his legs seemed to fail him. Vanessa was hitting the phone against the podium now, screaming, "Turn it off! It is a hack! He hacked me!" That was my cue. I stopped slouching. I uncurled my hands. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the sweet air of truth. I stood up. I did not use the table for support. I stood straight, my spine aligned, my shoulders back. I looked at the judge, and then I turned to look at my daughter. "It is not a hack, Vanessa," I said. My voice was clear, strong, and devoid of any tremor. "It is a correction." Vanessa spun around. She looked at me as if a corpse had just climbed out of a coffin. "Dad," she whispered, "you took the pill." "I poured your poison down the sink," I said. "I am not a vegetable, Nessie, and this house is not for sale." "Your Honor!" Vanessa shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. "He is faking it! He is insane!" "Sit down, Ms. Bennett," the judge bellowed, banging his gavel. But she did not sit down. She lunged toward the table, perhaps to grab me, perhaps to run. She never made it. The double doors at the back of the courtroom burst open with a crash that shook the walls. "Police! Everybody stay where you are!" 4 officers swarmed into the room. They were not the bored-looking bailiffs. These were officers from the fraud division. Led by a detective I recognized from the files Leo had sent them. "Vanessa Bennett," the detective shouted, marching down the aisle. "You are under arrest for elder abuse, grand larceny, and wire fraud." 2 officers grabbed Vanessa's arms. She began to thrash, her carefully constructed mask crumbling into hysteria. "No! No! I am the victim! He is crazy! Look at him!" The detective snapped the handcuffs onto her wrists. The sound was metallic and final. "We have seen the evidence, ma'am," the detective said. "Every gigabyte of it." Another officer moved to the table and pulled Dr. Reeves out of his chair. The doctor didn't fight. He looked like he was about to faint. I stood in the center of the chaos, an island of calm. I watched as they dragged my daughter away. She looked back at me one last time. Her eyes were wide with terror and confusion. She couldn't understand how the bridge she had rigged to collapse had fallen on her instead. I looked at her, and for the first time in years, I saw her clearly. Not as my little girl, but as a structural failure that could not be repaired. I slowly reached into my pocket and pulled out the Titan pad. I walked over to where she had dropped her phone and placed the tablet next to it. "Happy birthday, Nessie," I whispered. The judge looked at me. He looked at the empty plaintiff's table. He looked at the evidence still frozen on the screen, the text message where she called me a waste of space. "Mr. Bennett," the judge said softly, "I am dismissing this petition with prejudice, and I am issuing an immediate protective order. You are free to go." I nodded. "Thank you, Your Honor." I walked out of the courtroom. I didn't look back at the crying woman in handcuffs. I walked out into the hallway where Leo was waiting. He was holding my old, battered laptop in his arms. He smiled. "Did we win?" he asked. I took the laptop from him. It felt heavy. It felt real. "We didn't just win, Leo," I said, putting my arm around his shoulder. "We cleared the debris. Now, let's go get some breakfast." I believe I promised you a story about a bridge. The chaos in the courtroom was a physical force, a swirling storm of shouting voices, grabbing hands, and the metallic jingle of restraint equipment. Vanessa was still screaming, her voice shrill and desperate, claiming that this was all a mistake, a prank, a misunderstanding. She was fighting the reality of the situation with the same ferocity she had used to fight for my money. But the noise stopped instantly when the main projector screen behind the judge turned a bright, stark white. Leo had stepped forward. He did not ask for permission. He did not wait for the bailiff. He simply plugged a thick black HDMI cable into the side of my battered old laptop and hit the enter key. The white screen faded, replaced by a split-screen interface that looked like a surgical dissection of a crime scene. On the left side of the screen was a column labeled Reality. On the right side was a column labeled The Glitch. "Your Honor, look at the screen," Leo said. His voice was calm, cutting through the tension like a laser. "This is the log from the device my aunt gave my grandfather." The entire courtroom turned. The judge, the officers, the court reporter, and even Vanessa, who was currently being held by two officers, looked up. Leo scrolled down. The text was large enough for everyone to read. Timestamp, October 12th, 8 a.m. Reality. Input. "Hello, Mrs. Gable. I am resigning because I want to travel more." Glitch. Output. "Hello, board members. I am resigning because my health has deteriorated." A gasp rippled through the gallery. My sister Clara covered her mouth with her hand. Leo scrolled again. Timestamp, October 14th, 2 p.m. Reality input. Search query, Best Bridge Engineering Documentaries. Glitch. Output. Search query, Best Adult Diapers for Men. It was undeniable. It was mathematical proof of gaslighting. The judge stood up, leaning over his bench, his eyes narrowing as he read the lines. "This program," Leo explained, pointing at the screen, "is a text substitution engine. It intercepts the user's keystrokes and replaces them with a pre-written narrative. It was installed remotely 3 hours before the tablet was gifted to Mr. Bennett." Vanessa's face drained of all color. She looked like a ghost. She stopped struggling against the officers and went limp, her eyes fixed on the screen that was stripping her soul bare. "But we are not done," Leo said. He tapped a key. The screen changed. Now it showed a complex web of financial transactions. It looked like a map of a subway system, with lines crossing and diverging. "This is the money trail," Leo said. "Vanessa claimed my grandfather was spending his savings on frivolous items, but if you follow the IP packets, you see the truth." He highlighted a transaction. $3,000. The money leaves Mr. Bennett's account, enters a shell company called Med Supply Direct, and then is immediately routed to an offshore crypto wallet. Leo clicked on the wallet icon. A name popped up. Wallet owner, V. Bennett. Current balance, negative. Debt outstanding, $150,000. The judge looked at Vanessa. His expression was one of pure disgust. "Gambling debts," the judge muttered. "You tried to institutionalize your own father to cover your gambling debts." "It is a lie!" Vanessa shrieked, finding her voice again. "That is not my wallet! He made it up! He is a hacker!" "Then explain this," Leo said. He hit the spacebar. The video that started playing was not a screen recording. It was footage from the security camera in Vanessa's own kitchen. The timestamp was from yesterday evening. The audio was crystal clear. It boomed through the courtroom speakers, bouncing off the mahogany walls. The video showed Vanessa leaning against her counter, holding a glass of wine. Her husband, Todd, was sitting at the table, scrolling through his phone. "Did the buyers sign?" Todd asked in the video. "They signed," Vanessa replied, taking a long sip of wine. $800 grand. Cash." "That is low, Nessie," Todd said. "It is fast, Todd," Vanessa snapped. "We need the money by Friday. Besides, the old man doesn't need it. He is going to Shady Pines. I told the staff to keep him heavily sedated. Vegetable soup, Todd. That is all he is now. Vegetable soup." The video ended. The echo of her cruelty hung in the air. Vegetable soup. I looked at my daughter. She was shaking. Her knees gave way, and the officers had to hold her up to keep her from collapsing to the floor. But the video had one more effect. It brought a new player into the spotlight. Todd. Vanessa's husband had been sitting in the back row of the courtroom, trying to make himself invisible. He was wearing a beige suit that blended in with the walls. But when his voice played on that speaker, every head in the room turned to him. He stood up, panic written all over his face. He grabbed his briefcase. I didn't sign anything," he stammered, backing toward the door. "This was her idea. I told her it was wrong. I just wanted to pay the mortgage." "Officer," the judge barked, pointing a finger at Todd. "Do not let that man leave this room." 2 bailiffs moved in on him. Todd threw his hands up, dropping his briefcase. It hit the floor with a heavy thud, spilling papers everywhere. "It was her!" Todd yelled, pointing at his wife. "She is the one with the debts. She threatened to leave me if I didn't help her. I am a victim too." Vanessa turned on him, her eyes wild. "You coward! You spent the money too. You liked the trips. You liked the car. Don't you dare put this all on me." They were eating each other. The facade of the perfect, successful power couple had dissolved, leaving only 2 frightened, greedy rats fighting over a sinking ship. "Enough!" the judge shouted. The room fell silent, save for the heavy breathing of my daughter and her husband. "Detective," the judge said, looking at the lead officer. "You have probable cause." "More than that, Your Honor," the detective said, He walked over to Vanessa. He pulled a pair of steel handcuffs from his belt. "Vanessa Bennett, turn around and place your hands behind your back." Vanessa looked at me. Her eyes were pleading now. The arrogance was gone. The anger was gone. There was only the terrified look of a child who had broken something she couldn't fix. "Dad," she whimpered. "Dad, please." "Tell them. Tell them I am your daughter. You can't let them take me. Who will take care of you?" I looked at her. I felt a deep, aching sadness in my chest. It was the grief of losing a child, not to death, but to darkness. But I also felt the steel in my spine. I was an engineer. I dealt with structural reality. And the reality was, she was dangerous. "I have Leo," I said softly. "And I have myself." The detective spun her around. The sound of the handcuffs ratcheting shut was the loudest sound in the world. Click, click, click. "You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, grand larceny, and unlawful imprisonment," the detective recited. Across the room, Todd was being cuffed by the bailiffs. He was sobbing, begging for a deal, offering to testify against his wife. Dr. Reeves, who was still sitting at the table next to me, tried to stand up. I was misled," he stammered, wiping sweat from his forehead. "I assumed the family was telling the truth." "I am a victim of manipulation." The detective looked at him. "We have the audio of you negotiating your bonus, doctor," he said coldly. "You are coming with us, too." 3 arrests. 3 lives dismantled in under 10 minutes. The officers began to lead them out. Vanessa tried to dig her heels into the carpet. She twisted her head back to look at me. "Dad!" she screamed. "I did it for us! I did it to save the family!" I watched her go. I watched the heavy wooden doors swing shut behind her. The room was quiet. The air felt lighter, cleaner. The judge cleared his throat. He looked down at me. His expression was soft, respectful. "Mr. Bennett," he said, "I would like to apologize. The court system is designed to protect the vulnerable. But today, you had to protect yourself." I stood up. I buttoned my jacket. "The system works, Your Honor," I said. "Sometimes it just needs a little engineering support." The judge smiled. He banged his gavel one last time. "Case dismissed. All prior motions by the plaintiff are void. Mr. Bennett, you are free to go. And might I add, your mind seems perfectly sound to me." I turned to Leo. He was unplugging the laptop. He looked tired. His hoodie was wrinkled, but he was smiling. I walked over to him and put my hand on his shoulder. "You did good, kid," I said. Leo looked at the empty doorway where the police had taken them. "She really thought you were vegetable soup, didn't she?" he asked. I chuckled. It was a dry, raspy sound. "She forgot one thing, Leo." "What is that?" "Soup is hot," I said. "And if you are not careful, it burns." We walked out of the courtroom together, leaving the wreckage of the lie behind us. The hallway was filled with light. I took a deep breath. I was 66 years old. I had no daughter. I had no wife. But I had my mind. I had my dignity. And I had a grandson who knew how to write code. I was ready to build something new. The fluorescent lights of the precinct were humming with a low electrical buzz that reminded me of a faulty transformer. I sat at a scratched metal table, a styrofoam cup of lukewarm coffee in front of me. Across from me, the detective sat quietly, giving me space. Between us lay the official statement. It was 3 pages long. It detailed every crime my daughter had committed against me. The theft, the wiretapping, the conspiracy to imprison me. "Mr. Bennett," the detective said softly, "you do not have to press full charges. We have enough for the fraud. If you want to spare her the prison time for the elder abuse, I understand. She is your flesh and blood." I looked at the detective. He was a good man. He was trying to be kind. But kindness without boundaries was what created monsters like Vanessa. I had spent 40 years inspecting bridges. If I found a hairline fracture in a support beam, I did not ignore it because I liked the shape of the bridge. I condemned it. I shut it down. Because if I didn't, people would die. I picked up the pen. It was a cheap ballpoint, not the heavy fountain pen Vanessa had tried to force into my hand the night before. But it felt solid. It felt righteous. I remembered the look in her eyes when she called me vegetable soup. I remembered the way she laughed with the men who wanted to tear down the walls Sarah and I had built. She had not just broken the law. She had broken the sacred contract between parent and child. She had tried to erase me. "I am sure, Detective," I said. My hand did not shake. My breathing did not hitch. I pressed the tip of the pen to the paper and wrote my name. William Arthur Bennett. The lines were sharp. The curves were deliberate. It was the signature of a man who was fully in control of his faculties and his future. I pushed the paper back across the table. "It is done," I said. The detective nodded. He took the file. He didn't look at me with pity anymore. He looked at me with respect. I walked out of the station into the afternoon sun. Leo was waiting for me by his car. He didn't ask how it went. He just handed me a fresh coffee, black, exactly how I liked it. We did not go back to the empty house. We went to work. 6 months have passed since that day. Vanessa is currently awaiting trial. She writes me letters from her cell. She says she is sorry. She says she has changed. I do not open them. I put them in a box in the garage, right next to the broken Titan pad. Some structures are too damaged to be repaired. They must be demolished so you can build on fresh ground. And that is exactly what we did. If you look up Bennett & Son Digital Security, you will see our website. We specialize in protecting seniors from financial predation and digital identity theft. Leo handles the coding. He builds the firewalls and the encryption. I handle the client relations. I sit down with people who look just like me, people who are scared, people who feel the world is moving too fast for them to catch up. I tell them my story. I tell them that getting older does not mean you are obsolete. It means you have experience. It means you have survived. I tell them that technology is just a tool, like a hammer or a wrench. It can build a house, or it can break a window. It all depends on whose hand is holding it. I am 67 years old now. I still live in my house. I still mow my lawn on Saturdays. But I am not alone. Leo moved into the guest room. We have dinner together every night. We argue about politics. We debate engineering versus software. We are a family. I learned the hard way that family is not about DNA. It is not about who you raised or who raised you. Family is about who stands beside you when the walls are closing in. It is about who hands you the brick to build a fortress, rather than the shovel to dig your grave. My name is Bill Bennett. I was a structural engineer. Now, I am a glitch hunter, and I have never been happier. If you have ever had to make a hard choice to protect your own peace, let me know in the comments below. Tell me your story. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us share these warnings with the people who need them most. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and never let anyone tell you that you are finished.